Good morning.
So before I start, I have a question, and I don't require an answer now, but I want you to be thinking about it. What feelings came up for you? Were there any feelings of resistance when you heard Eddie Watkins Jr. singing about money? So just be with that question.
Can you repeat the question, Reverend?
Yes, the question is, what feelings came up for you? Did any feelings of resistance in particular arise as you heard Eddie Watkins Jr. singing about money? All right, so just be with that question. Let's go ahead and get started. The title of my talk today, The Clouds and the Myths Surrounding Money. So that you have a little bit of background information with regard to me and this topic. This is a topic that I have embraced for decades. And for many churches, I actually am oftentimes invited to do classes and programs to help organizations increase their prosperity. So I've done a lot of research. And I've got so much information, you all, that I had to cut it off someplace, but it's dense. I just want you to know I'm incorporating a lot of different concepts, but during the discussion, I'll be able to provide more background and more clarification, because what the download was this morning was everything that I've ever read on the subject. So just bear with me. I try to make it coherent, but I'm going to be sharing a lot of ideas. And these ideas you've already known, you've already heard, but maybe not in the way that I'm presenting them. So the clouds and the myths surrounding money. So let's start out with a quote. And this quote is by Raymond Charles Barker. And he was a contemporary of Dr. Ernest Holmes, and they wrote a book together. And that book is about abundant living, 365 Days of Abundant Living. So this particular quote comes from another book that he wrote. And so it is The Power of Decision. So it says, know yourself as you are in God, thereby increasing the incorrect knowledge of yourself as merely human. This redefinition is essential for your health, for your wealth, your love, and your self-expression. So I will endeavor to address that. I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'll put up the slides as need be, because I want to be able to see at least your names, if not your faces. So much of our trauma, if you've ever experienced any trauma regarding money, is based on myths and false beliefs, such as, I'm going to share 3 or 4 of those myths and false beliefs with you. It's easier for a camel to get through the eye of the needle than it is for a rich man to enter heaven. So many believe that you cannot get into heaven if you're wealthy. Here's my interpretation of that same scripture. A rich person is often blind to their spiritual poverty, but rich in material goods and accomplishments. And they are content with themselves, meaning that they have a strong belief in their own agency, that they need nothing more. They don't need the support and the power of the universe. They can do it in and of themselves. Here's another one. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, among evangelicals, this scripture might mean that people who recognize their spiritual poverty, they have awareness, they have consciousness, right? They're self-aware. And they probably also recognize their need for God. Here's another myth. The great spiritual teachers of all time were poor. They have taken vows of poverty. But I'm here to tell you, Jesus was not poor. The birth story in Luke is what is true. There is no room at the end. But it wasn't because of not having the wherewithal to pay for the room. There was no vacancy. The truth is that Mary and Joseph had wherewithal. Joseph had a business. Joseph was a carpenter. And so he could pay for the room at the end. There just wasn't the accommodation. And Jesus, during his time on the earth, did you all know that he had a bookkeeper? If you don't have money, you don't need someone to account for something you don't have. Many of the truth teachers, Muhammad was wealthy. Buddha was wealthy. So that is another myth, that in order to be deeply spiritual, that you must take vows of poverty. So here's another myth. And this myth is about debt and about loss. So there are actually two myths. The first one, within an infinite oneness, there can be no debt or loss. Debt occurs when we agree to pay for something over time. But what do you believe? Do you believe in a consciousness of trust in the flow of money, or in a consciousness of fear and disbelief that the universe will supply your needs? The kind of debt that creates problems for us emanates from a consciousness of lack and a distrust of ourselves to work with the universal flow of life and good. A little more about loss. Loss comes when we believe that money is ours to begin with, and that there's a limited supply coming from very specific and certain channels. When we let go of our possessiveness around money, and we realize that it's a form of wealth, and it's a form of wealth that we can use, it comes in, it stays, it goes out, because it's energy. And Reverend Alma talks to us about that every single time she speaks about energy and about vibration. Energy is dynamic. It moves and it flows. When it becomes stagnant, that's the issue. That's when you are out of alignment with the universal flow of life. So that means that when you're hoarding, you are obstructing the flow of good, the flow of plenty into your experience. The Science of Mind textbook in the glossary defines money as the symbol of God's sustenance. The idea of spiritual supply objectified. So as God is spirit and man is God's creation, spirit is our sustenance, but spirit is all. So money is an expression of spiritual sustenance as well. Money is the main focus and the main force of human life at our present stage of development as a civilization. If you were to think about money as if it were a person in your life, how would you describe your relationship? Do you get along well? Do you understand how it works within the system or the society in which we live? Let those questions ruminate, because during the discussion, you'll have an opportunity to respond to them. But what is your relationship with money? Do you understand how it works and how it works in the society in which we live? What I know is that we all have a relationship with money. You might hold it in a positive, proactive, and powerful way, or you might have an unhealthy relationship with it. therefore unable to keep it, unable to generate it. For many people in our society, their greatest fear, second to public speaking, is not having enough money. And there is such an emotional energy around money and so little support for us as a civilization to cultivate and to develop our inner life. A life of meaning, a life of awareness, a life of our spiritual unfoldment and our spiritual capacity and an understanding of the self. So that's why I started with that quote about knowing thyself, understanding thyself. Our culture's out of balance. There's an intense focus on the outer conditions in our lives and so little attention paid to our interior development. And money is central to our existence because in our current culture, many of our activities are focused on how to get it, how to spend it, where to spend it, how to have it, how to accumulate it, without any sense of reason, direction, or purpose, other than, oh, you better make more of it. Collectively, we seem to have geared our evolutionary survival fears from, fear of the unknown and fear of threats, dangerous and threats. And I'm talking about, from the primordial stages of our development as a civilization. Now the focus is money. And so our experiences with money are intense because of the way it's linked to our very survival. Money is like everything else. As I said, it's energy, and we attract according to our energetic. Another way of saying that is in accordance with our vibration. This is another question to ponder, where is your money vibration? Are you at the survival level? Are you stressed? Are you at the transformational and transcendent levels of vibration? So to assess where your consciousness is around money, you must examine your BEAT, B-E-A-T, acronym for beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and yes, thoughts. So to explain more fully what I mean, let's take a look at just thoughts and emotions. Thoughts at the survival level are often crowded with negativity and wishful thinking. While at the transformational level of our thoughts, they may be on ways that we can be more in the flow of life, including money and the more. So when we live according to those ways, there's more money for us to enjoy. Emotions, the E in the acronym BEAT. At the survival level, we might feel resignation, or we may affix blame on others and or the system for our money problems. Corresponding emotions are despair, apathy, hopelessness. That, when you're at that emotional state, is the level of vibration that's just about survival, not thriving, but surviving. At the transformational level, we feel excited about the adventure of attracting more, earning more, offering our services to the world, and enjoying more. When it comes to money, freedom starts to happen when what we do, think, and feel and say are one. So to change your money vibration, you must change where you locate your identity. You might need a shift in your perception. Your mind is the life source that animates your being. It's connected to the eternal source of all creation. So let's talk a little bit about the brain and the mind. The brain is the organ of complex neurological systems that is the seat of our experience of life. Training our mind to maximize the astounding potential of our brain is extraordinary, and it's extraordinarily exciting. Excitement is a very high vibration on the emotional ladder. So money, as I said, is a form of divine energy. So we need to let go of any old stories about poverty. We have to let go of clinging to our debts and to our losses and attaching our identity to money. You know, when I talk about our identity being wrapped around money, in order for some people to feel legitimate and to feel worthy, they equate that with how much money they have. But you can be, as I started out saying, you could be rich in things spiritual. And when you are rich in things spiritual, guess what? You vibrate at higher levels. And then what happens? You attract like into your experience. So that's why it's so important that we engage in works that bring us joy, that excite us. Because when we do that, we are expressing our God-given gifts. We are being in service to something bigger to ourselves. And I understand the law of reciprocity, you all. And so therefore, we attract in kind. So do what you love and the money will come. So we must recognize that we live within a constant flow of divine quality of wealth in all of its myriad forms. And as we bring a consciousness of prosperity to our relationship with money, like any relationship that we have, that you give attention to, that you give gratitude to, that you give appreciation to, it will blossom, it will increase, it will grow. So I want to share another slide with you. Let me get there. The key to wealth is learning how, and let me see, I've got to move this because I can't even see it. Oh, there we go. To take charge of your mind, learning how to process your mind with affirmations. And I'm going to add afformations as well. Studying and releasing yourself from the major inhibitors of the mind and learning to better use your imagination. Said most simply, increasing your wealth is a matter of increasing the quality of your thoughts. Phil Lott, Money is My Friend. Small little book, you all. He's got the 40-day prosperity plan in that book. So this comes from page 6. The secret of unlimited prosperity, according to Catherine Ponder, who has written many books on prosperity, you all, is to share your supply. So I love the songs because all of them talk about sharing, right? Giving, serving the universe, serving humankind, because we understand that in so doing, we are in the flow of life. You give, you receive. You receive, you give, right? It's a continuous process. So we want to make sure that we remain in the flow of life And in very practical ways, we could find that sharing that which we have and having an expectancy. There is a law of expectancy as well. Expecting that I don't have to worry about my finances because I know that as I give, I will receive. You live from that place, you're in the flow. So let me give you a reference from the Bible. In Proverbs, chapter 11, verses 24 and 25, it says that one person gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what they give, and they suffer want. A liberal, or another way of saying that, generous person will be enriched, and one who waters will themselves be watered. And so this is not just current day thinking and new age thought with regard to money. This has been around since the beginning of all times, you all. When we are generous in our spirit and we give with a happy heart, a joyous heart, we will receive because that's the law. So what I'd like to close out with, because I want time for discussion and questions and dialogue, is an affirmation that I think sums up the different ideas that I've presented today. God is the source of my supply. I give richly and I receive richly. It's the law. I am in the flow of life. And so it is. Amen.
Yes. Whoa, you're right. This is a lot, Reverend Michele, for us to process today. And wow, where do we begin? Where do we begin? Whenever, hey, loads of questions. The first question was, what come up for you when
you heard that song? He was thinking about money.
Junior,
money's coming to me. Sometimes when people hear songs like that about money, they start to experience some feelings of resistance. And so that was the question. Did anything come up for you in terms of any kind of resistance? Because if so, I've got a response for you. But you got to be honest about it. Did anybody have a little
Yeah, especially in a place where, oh, not in church. You don't talk about those things in church. It's like heresy. Yeah.
Exactly. And so what that means is that there is some resistance. And so my response to that is, I'm not asking you to out yourselves, you know thyself. What I am suggesting is that you start to engage in some self-inquiry, meaning that you ask yourself, what is the source of that discomfort around us talking about and singing about money? And I will assure you, it's probably from what you inherited from the previous generation, that was passed down from the previous generation. These ideas we grow up with, the way that we are acculturated, we are socialized, until we start to take charge of our own thinking, our independent thinking. Subconsciously, we buy into these ideas because guess what? Our parents are the ones that are saying these things. Money is the root of all evil, right? And quoting scripture, it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for the eye of the needle.
Yeah, and money doesn't grow on trees.
Money doesn't grow on trees. Yes, Patricia.
You said that I have to stop you because I was thinking about it. As a young person, she's not here this morning, but Reverend Alma had me thinking that money did grow on trees. She said, anytime an issue came up as a little person, and as you know, my mom was a young mother. So there were a number of questions and challenges of a young mother that many mature mothers have or had other responses to. But with her, when we had those kinds of issues, she would just say, what do you need? What do you want? Da, you say it. She says, okay, we'll just go to the money tree. We'll just go to the money tree. So we grew up going to the money tree. Now, I never saw the money tree, but she had me imagine that's where we would go. We'll just go to the money tree. We'll just go to the money tree. That was all she would always say to relieve me, because I was as a young person. This was one of her conversations with one of her friends. Her friend came to visit her and asked, where's that little Toussaint L'Ouverture of yours? She was referring to me. But so not only was I being a rebellion, I was always into everybody's business, particularly my mom. So she was wondering, where is she? So anytime we had issue, she had issue, I could see her, I could read it. So I have issue. But to relieve that issue, especially around what I wanted and we don't see the money, she would say, don't worry, we'll go to the money tree. We'll just go to the money tree. So when you said money don't grow on trees, I beg your pardon. I always, though I didn't see it, I always knew that there was a money tree. However, and I must say this to ladies and gentlemen, even knowing that there was imagining and knowing that there was a money tree, all of our needs will have always been met. I still matured in with the attitude and a view of lack, because I didn't see the tree. I knew the tree was there, but because I didn't see the tree, there was always some doubt that it would be there. And so I have always, in my challenge, and I will say this, I have been challenged all of my adult life with the idea of not having enough. And it's not until I got on the other side that I see and understand I've always had enough, because I had the money tree operating in my life all along. But I did not acknowledge the money tree beyond a child. Mm-hmm. So when you said money don't grow on trees, that's what made me have to say, nah, she told me it did.
and your mom really, of course, was unique and atypical. What I heard, and many people that I know, is that money doesn't grow on trees, especially if I would ask for something from my mom, and she would always say, money doesn't go to, what are you thinking? Yeah.
Yeah, and I grew up with the total opposite of you, Patricia. Back in Jamaica, back in the day, there was this class structure. Even though it was, we have white people and we have Chinese and Indians, we have all kind of nation there. But we grew up with the idea that the rich people are there to oppress us. And they're the one who employ us, and they're slaving us out. And they're capitalists. And they're doing all kinds of things to us, untoward and unworthy and despicable. So we were conditioned to have a not so pleasant idea or thoughts about people who have all this money. Why can't they just come and give us some of what they have? Don't they see us here wanting money? And so that idea been twirling around for decades in many of us. Yeah. And yes, I see my friend Sandra, she's from your area, Reverend Michele.
Okay.
Oh, where did she go? She fell off? Uh-oh. Just as I was acknowledging her, she went away. And to welcome also Miss Iva, Miss Carolyn, and who else came on late? Miss Nastasia came in late. No, early. You're right on time. Right on time. Okay. Yes. So She knew what I was talking about. I hope she can get on back because we've been having some issues with the internet. All right. So anyone else with anyone to share your point of view or just an experience?
I've got
Or
lots
to
of,
answer
I've got
somebody's
lots of
question?
questions.
Okay.
I got a question, Reverend Michele.
Mhm.
In your presentation, you talked about, you said, well, I wrote the question, where is my money vibration? And you said that there were different levels. Where was it survival? And then you gave some other ones. Would you give me those
Yeah,
other
those
areas
4.
to examine
Yes.
the
So
money
there,
vibration?
yeah, so there's survival,
Mhm.
there's transformation,
Transformation.
there's transcendence, and there's one more level. Let me get the source. Hang on once. I should always just pile my books up on my desk and have them here accessible. Just give me 1 second. I will give you. The book is called The Money Vibe. Those different levels of consciousness are presented in by Jackie Woodson. And I did last year during COVID, because we had all this time, I did like 10 weeks of discussion of that book. A group of us went through every chapter and did some work on our money vibration. So if I'll tell you what, I won't stop here, but what I'll do is when we're listening to the prosperity song, I'll grab the source and I'll put it in the chat for you.
Okay.
Because there's one other level, I just didn't commit that level to memory. But I'll make sure I provide that for you. So that's where it came from, the money vibe, Jackie Woodson.
Right. So, Reverend Michele, you said we should examine our beliefs, our emotions, our attitudes, and our thoughts. That's the beat.
The beat, yes.
The beat. And that sound like a course.
Well,
we gotta go to.
Actually, it is. That this was from the Money Vibe. It's a workbook.
Oh, okay.
So you can go through their assessments, their exercises. She comes out of the Unity tradition, and I met her because I was oftentimes partnered with her as speakers at Unity to bring the message, and so. She just makes sure that whenever she writes a book, I get it. And so she made sure I got the money vibe, and she told me to share it with the world. And so once she gave me that book last year, I shared it with anybody who wanted to participate in that study group. And so it took us, I think, like as I said, it took us about 10 weeks to get through the book, because there's so many assessments and ways to identify where we are on that vibrational ladder, if you will, and questions around, do you identify, is your identity wrapped up in, if you have money, then yes, you are something, that whole caste mentality you were talking about, Marzia, or do you understand that just by virtue of the fact that you exist, that you are worthy, you are deserving, and you legitimately have something to contribute to the world. It's a mindset. And so anyway, so she takes you through a number of different exercises to pinpoint where you are. And she also gives instruction on how to raise your money vibration.
Wow. Wow. And that's very interesting. And you also asked another question. If money were a person in my life, how would I get along with money? How would I get along with that person? Now, I always considered myself a relationship expert. Yes, for years I've been teaching about how to get, I see Lavette hand is up, teach, how to build, how to maintain a great relationship with whomever, whether it's your spouse, your boss, your coworker, your whomever. But I never think of money like you know, now I got something else to do. To think of money like that's a person, and what quality relationship would I have with that person in my life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lavette?
Lavette?
I've been waiting on that question. Man, when you said that, I see money as an adulterous husband. It doesn't stay with me. It's a cheater. It keeps going and going, doesn't stay home. So that's how I see money. I needed to stay.
You need some of it to stay. You need some of it to keep in circulation.
Okay.
Because you don't want to obstruct the flow of money into your life. And so that's why, and if you were to read the Catherine Ponder's books, and she says, you know, in terms of the continuous flow, and she said, you've got to participate. If you hoard it, if you just accumulate it, it becomes stagnant. It's not in circulation. So you're not creating the void to be refilled.
Right.
And
so Reverend Michele, talking about money, about hoarding, wouldn't you say hoarding? Wouldn't you say saving is some part of hoarding?
No, hoarding is extreme behavior. You know, saving. Okay. You know, saving, of course, you are being a good steward of your money. You're using your money intelligently. You are being proactive with your money. Okay. When you save, you save to make sure that if something that is unplanned for,
emergency. Okay.
Yeah, something shows up, then you can take care of it. Hoarding is you are so, I'm not even going to be nice. Usually I'd say frugal. You are so cheap. That you have your first penny, you know, that you ever earn, that the mindset is, oh, I can't tithe 10% because that'll only leave me with 90. That's hoarding.
Yeah, that's what showed up for me as you were talking, tithing. Because even in that area, because if you don't tithe at all, I guess that is hoarding, and you're keeping it to you. If you can't,
and it doesn't have to be 10%, but you know, that's of course the number that's been passed down from generation to generation as a place to start. I like to say that as a place to start. When I tithe, I try to go higher, right? Well beyond 10%. Why? Because I understand the law of reciprocity. And I understand the law of circulation. I don't give to get. That's not the mentality. What it is I do understand how to work with the law. Right? Yeah.
Great question. Great observation. Yes.
I like the beat, Reverend Michele.
Oh, it's not mine, it's Jackie's.
I know, but I mean, you brought it to us. We weren't looking at it in that manner. You're the transporter.
Yes, I just want to give credit where credit is due.
Right, not a problem. When I think about the E in the beats, I can really resonate with that. Because I can remember that at a point in our lives, all the jobs went with the exception of one job. And we did not become despondent. We had, looking back, such a high level of joy and happiness. And looking back later, Mazzy and myself were saying, how did we get through that? There was one job. All the cars were repaired. All the bills were paid. And there was still more money, you know, with just one person working, but it was coming. And I look at it as the emotion, the joy, and all of that encircles the feeling of money, holding it, keeping it, circulating it, and I get a beautiful feeling from that.
Awesome, awesome. And so you all, what does the most, or what has the most powerful and potent impact on your money vibration is gratitude.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's gratitude.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
So when you recognize and give thanks for all that you have, all that you give, all that you receive, you're vibrating at higher levels. And so therefore, as we know, we attract at those levels. So if you're wanting to know, how can I begin to change and elevate my money vibration? Start with gratitude.
Yes.
Yeah, being grateful, being thankful for everything.
Reverend
Patricia.
Maria, she pushes some limits from time to time, and she presents something to me and she says, I want to do this. And she said, what do you think? And I said, do it. And it's just phenomenal.
It works out, right?
And
Patricia.
I want to do this and that. I say, well, I'm looking at, all of our, and I just say, do it.
Yes, sirree. Okay, Patricia.
The other part of what also comes to mind on this is redefining money. We are talking about money in terms of the currency, and that's oftentimes immediately what comes to mind, the currency being accessible. But I'm coming to understand the need to redefine money, because it's not so much the currency that you have in hand, but what that currency will do. What is it that you want to do? So wherever you say, okay, I need to have this amount of money because I want to do this. Well, the important thing is this. So how this gets done is it varies. And so I'm saying that to say this. I think back over my professional career, and as I speak of it in terms of salary, I don't speak of it, because they said, okay, you got this, and this going on for you. Your salary should be here. And in reality, the salary is here and you can't see my hands. But then all of the things that a salary would have afforded, a salary here would have afforded, I still have had those experiences. So I now can see, okay, my job didn't pay me X number of dollars. However, an opportunity was presented to me through my job that I was able to experience something that if they had given me the salary, I might have spent the money doing it anyway. So the point that I'm making is that our idea of money has to be examined and redefined, because it's not just necessarily an accumulated amount,
right,
as it is the result of what that accumulated amount would have brought to you.
Right.
Yeah, and so when you have that consciousness of prosperity and consciousness of abundance, then you're not limited to those channels, infinite channels, such as a salary. So, you have just these phenomenal experiences. You have experiences that your salary could not afford you, but guess what? The universe
brought it.
Provided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, you also have another question, Reverend Michele. Do what you love and the money will come.
Well, that was actually a statement.
Yeah, well, yes. But some people would argue, Reverend Michelle, look, I'm doing what I love. They would say, okay, I'm working on the garbage truck, and I love working on the garbage truck because it makes the city clean, and I get pleasure from seeing all these people driving around every day. I'm doing what I love. But guess what? As Patricia was saying, the salary is here where you can't see it. But I'm doing what I love. Now,
But then again, you see,
it's
you
not
can't,
synchrometion.
yeah, but you
Let's pick
can't,
up that
you
hand
can't
is up.
think. You can't think in those limited terms in terms of that's the only channel through which your good is going to come.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, as I said, the channels are plentiful when your mindset is
It's
abundant
expanding.
and
Open to
expansive. And
receive.
yeah,
Ah,
you have those experiences. Your life is enriched. And so we also need to think in terms of lived experiences as everyone as having value. See, if you start to monetize those things and you recognize, wow, how spiritually rich you really are. But then again, if you just limit it to, oh, it's dependent upon my salary and how much I can earn, then guess what? You're limiting your experiences as well.
Yeah.
And you're only going to experience that with which you can
which your salary
generate
can
for
afford.
yourself.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Lavette has her hand up again.
Yes, that question really caused me to examine myself. I'm like, wow, and a career path opened up. I'm like, whoa, I can be that. It just showed up, and never in my wildest dream, I never even thought about that. And I realized I've been moving away from what I really love and going after the money, and now I have to really examine myself. Because I'm a massage therapist and I really love doing that. And now I'm looking at real estate, which I have a license to. But I always keep going back because so much joy and love for that profession is not about the money. So yeah, that question, I'm gonna be pondering that and praying about it.
So Lavette, each time you give someone a massage, you say it brings you so much joy. You're elevating your money vibration because you're doing what you love. So you're not down there at apathy.
But I quit.
Well, okay, well,
that's why I have to examine myself because I no longer do it and I missed it.
Okay, so yeah, you do have some food for thought. Iva, come into the conversation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I do apologize that I missed such an amazing conversation. I apologize for coming in so late.
No, you're in time.
You're right on time.
Perfect. But I'm going to listen to the recording so I can get all of it. But yes, just touching on what Lavette was saying and what everyone is talking about, just doing what you love. I had an experience where I had made some short films, and I felt that was me doing what I love, and I put a lot of my time and money into a specific project, and I was let down by it, or I let myself down by the project because, similar to Lavette, I didn't see the return for my efforts, and it really made me kind of think, well, I mean, is that truly what I love? And I feel like right now, because I've done other things creatively, I've written a book and everything like that, but I'm just kind of in a space where just really trying to fill out what is it that I love to do, because I have experienced several creative outlets, but I guess also then again, it doesn't mean I just have to do one thing. But I guess I'm sharing because just to kind of touch on the fact that because I didn't see the return from that specific project that I was working on, I quit basically for several years, and I was very bitter about it, and I just felt like, maybe that just wasn't my path.
Well, you know what you were also doing, Iva, if I could interject,
Sure.
is you were looking at those films as being the source of your supply.
Absolutely.
That they are not.
Yes.
The creator is the source of your supply.
Yes.
So when we in our humanness, when we do that, when we put limitations on how and from where our money substance is going to come, we are limiting the universe.
Absolutely.
So I would offer, do what you love and know that the universe will support you, right? And, don't put limits on God.
True.
There are just so many ways in which prosperity and abundance can come to us. It could be in the way of exposure, opportunity that positions you for more revenue generating opportunities. So having that abundant, prosperous mindset, you are open to opportunities and you seize those opportunities.
Thank you.
And so that's the part of working with Spirit as a co-creator.
For sure.
Okay, right.
For sure.
So what I'm hearing, or what I'm gleaning from you, Michele, as long as I stay in the space of what I'm enjoying, for example, Lavette with her massage and Iva with her movie or script.
No, you don't have to limit yourself to that.
I said if I stay in this, okay, I use that energy to keep my vibration high, and as a result, other channels will open up, other sources will source will cause other avenues to inflow the money or the resources to me.
And this is the affirmation that supports that, Mazia. Yeah. And the affirmation is, and so you all may treat for a certain outcome, right? You can, and we talk about being specific because you want to direct the law and all that, but don't limit God. And the way that you don't put limits on God, this or something better.
Right.
I always end my, if I'm making a request for something that I need, and I'm treating my own mind. That's when we do treatment, we're treating our own minds, right? So that we can up level our thoughts and our emotions to where we want to be so that we can attract that which we have. So understand when you're treating, why you're treating. And when I treat, I'll say this, Lord, or something better. Because the amazing thing is the something better is usually what I get. And it's something that I didn't conceive of. So that's why I also said, gave you that quote about using your imagination. We limit our imagination. Einstein said that our knowledge is limited, imagination is unlimited. So use your imagination, visualize, what it is you want to do, be, and have. And it's got to be beyond where you currently are, because otherwise you're just going to keep attracting experiences that keep you where you are. You got to dream big, have loftier thoughts, see yourself, fulfilling those dreams. You visualize that, and then you do your part to work with the divine creative process.
Wow. Thank you. That's a great note for us to pause on. I have to say pause because there was so much more that we could have got to this morning, but time is running away.
It's a big topic. I love the topic, but it's a huge topic.
Yeah. What somebody is asking, Lavette say, any possibility of presenting a money series again? increasing our vibration, etc., etc.
Absolutely.
Do another.
Absolutely. I can do that.
Cool.
I can
All
do
right.
that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So with that song, we got to move right along. And thank you so much, everyone, for your participation, your ideas, and your contribution to this rich discussion this morning.